There is a huge selection of smartphones from China with extremely large batteries. One special device, however, is the Oukitel K8000, as it offers a 8000 mAh battery combined with a power-saving AMOLED screen. We have been testing this battery monster for over a week, and here are the results. The review sample was provided by Oukitel. Of course, this does not affect our opinion in any way. You can find a shop link in the video description. As far as build quality goes, Oukitel is improving a lot, and you definitely notice this with the new Oukitel K8000, which finally uses a real unibody metal design without the cheap looking plastic caps that disturbed us, for example, on the Oukitel K6000 Plus. It is surprising how compact the Oukitel K8000 is. Neither the footprint nor the thickness of 10.8 mm would make you think that this phone packs a whopping 8K milliamps. Only the weight of 233 grams is kind of an indicator for that. The notch that runs around the phone's sides on the transition from the back to the frame is something they should have left out, however. It makes the phone feel somewhat edgy in a slightly uncomfortable way. Not a big deal, but it could be better. We were surprised that the Oukitel K8000 uses a micro USB port again. We believe that this outdated port shouldn't be used anymore since Type-C is on the rise these days. On the other hand, it's great to see that a 3.5mm headphone connection is still available. A small eye catcher is the power button with its red border. The keys don't rattle, by the way. The front packs a home button, but it's not a real button, just a touch-sensitive area. It's strange that they use on-screen buttons for operation, although there would have been enough space for touch buttons. For a battery monster, the bezels to the left and right of the display are kept quite slim. Above the screen, not only the phone receiver, sensors and the front camera have found space, but also an RGB notification LED. The AMOLED display is made by Samsung, comes in 16:9 format and operates at a resolution of 1280 by 720 pixels. However, the low resolution is hardly noticeable. You will notice it mostly in the beginning when you come from a high resolution display, but after a short time you will be used to it and mostly don't notice it anymore. An advantage of the resolution is, of course, that it further reduces the power consumption. Unfortunately, the AMOLED panel is not a very high quality panel, which quickly becomes clear when you look at larger areas in white or any shades of grey with a low display brightness. Then it shows a certain graininess or lines similar to the look of POLED displays. However, this is only a small optical flaw which can be eliminated almost completely by using a higher screen brightness. Speaking of that, the brightness of the display is great. At its maximum level, the panel can easily cope with direct sunlight. However, we find the automatic control of brightness somewhat too aggressive. It is regulated upwards too quickly, which wastes energy. The overall picture quality is quite good. Colors look a bit too intense out of the box, but thanks to Mediatek Mirror Vision, this can be adjusted to your personal likings. The contrast is of course great, as you would expect from an AMOLED panel. Black is really black. The 5-point touchscreen works well and has no issues except for a slight input delay. But the display glass is disappointing because it doesn't seem to be hardened. After a few days we had the first micro scratches in the glass. Furthermore, there is no grease repellent coating. We recommend to use a protective film that comes with the phone or to purchase a tempered glass for it. The K8000 uses the well-known Mediatek MT6750T processor, which with its 8 1.5 GHz Cortex-A53 cores and the Mali T860 MP2 GPU is located in the lower mid-range. The everyday performance is mostly okay. Occasional small stutters can happen when scrolling larger content. 4GB LPDDR3 RAM provides smooth multitasking performance despite not being the fastest. The internal memory is 64GB in size and reaches decent data rates. The expansion via SD card is also possible, but you will have to sacrifice dual SIM for that. The slot's reading speeds are okay, just the writing speed is rather slow. Gaming on the Oukitel K8000 is possible to a certain degree, and the low screen resolution becomes noticeable in a positive way there. Thus, even more demanding games can be played quite smooth on the higher graphics settings. Asphalt Extreme, for example, runs rather smooth on XHDPI and maximum detail. There are no issues with overheating or thermal throttling. As for the sensors, the Oukitel K8000 is fully equipped with a gyroscope, compass and even a pedometer. The fingerprint scanner could be a bit faster, but this is more due to the software than the sensor itself. Mostly, the scanner works fine. Only if you have wet or greasy fingers, there might be the need for repeated unlocking attempts. The operating system running on the Oukitel K8000 is Android 7.0 with a security patch from November 2017 at the time of the test. As usual with Oukitel, it is largely untouched Android, just the launcher has been changed, the remaining parts of the systems look like stock Android. In the settings, there are some additional options for different gestures and also a single-handed mode. Bloatware is limited to a few pre-installed Google apps and a second keyboard application. Multi-language is supported and the Google Play Store is available out of the box. We didn't notice any serious bugs. A small problem, however, concerns the power button, which stopped working twice during the testing period and could only be brought back to life after a forced reboot by pressing the button for 10 seconds. Here we are hoping for an upcoming fix with the next OTA update. As for mobile reception quality, the Oukitel K8000 positions itself in the midfield, meaning there are slight restrictions but no serious ones. Mainly indoors, it is noticeable that the handset doesn't get along so well with a weak signal strength. However, there are no problems otherwise. The Wi-Fi performance is very good. Next to the router, 105 Mbps were achieved here, and a floor below the router it still gets 41 Mbps. Bluetooth also works fine and covers 3 rooms without any problems. The GPS sadly isn't that good. Only a few satellites are found and the signal strength is below average. During GPS tracking, the line sometimes is significantly off the actual route, and there are also problems with navigation unless you are on a bicycle like here in the demo, where it did work quite well. The media speaker in the Oukitel K8000 is disappointing. It gets quite loud and doesn't scratch but leaves any bass missing. The output at the 3.5mm connector is satisfactory and sufficiently loud. The telephony quality is always understandable but sounds a bit dull and doesn't get that crisp even with voice over LTE. The Oukitel K8000 promises a lot when it comes to cameras. In the main camera there is supposed to be a 16 megapixel sensor combined with a 2 megapixel secondary sensor. In fact, there is only a 13 megapixel sensor and the secondary sensor is only a VGA sensor. The f1.8 aperture, which is displayed in the EXIF data, is questionable as well. If you look at the pictures, those actually don't look too bad at daylight. In fact, it actually can handle more than just quick snapshots. The amount of detail and sharpness is okay considering the device's category. Unfortunately, the weaknesses quickly become apparent when the lighting conditions get worse. Noise sets in very quickly and then the sharpness and richness of detail gradually diminishes until the camera can hardly be used at night or with artificial light. As with all smartphones of this kind, the bokeh mode is fake and does not use the secondary sensor at all. Selfies don't look good at all. It's enough for quick shots without any big quality demands, but definitely not for more. Full HD videos recorded with the main camera are stabilized with EIS, but are not convincing in terms of image quality and sound quality. The same applies to the front camera's video recordings, which are limited to 480p resolution. The best part about the Oukitel K8000 is the battery life. The 8000 mAh battery keeps its promise. Despite intensive use, we were able to use the handset for a full 3 days including evenings, and afterwards we still had 33% left, which would still be sufficient for half a day of use or even a whole day if you run the phone down to 0%. In the endurance test, playing YouTube videos in continuous loop at full display brightness, only 20% were consumed within 4 hours. Charging is surprisingly fast too. A charge from 20 to 100% takes about 2 hours. If you are in a hurry, 20 minutes of charging time is sufficient to fill up enough power for a whole day, including the evening. Conclusion: the Oukitel K8000 is an interesting smartphone for all those who value a very good battery life and don't need high-end performance. Especially the high-quality design, the relatively compact dimensions, and the AMOLED display makes the Oukitel K8000 attractive. It must be clear, however, that one has to make compromises here and there. Especially the GPS and camera performance shouldn't have top priority if you buy this phone. The camera is relatively useful during the day but quickly fails when there's a lack of light. The GPS can only be used for rough positioning, not for navigation and tracking. The first OTA update has to show whether Oukitel can improve this or not. And now we reached the end of this review. A shop link and more information is located down in the video description. I was Christopher for CMM, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.